Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Am I Doing This Wrong? It's your gals, Morgan and Ryann,
Hi.
back for another week. How you doing, Ryann?
I'm good. It's fall weather here. Yay.
Don't brag. I was
Yeah.
telling Ryann before this, it's like 95 degrees today in California, so that's fun.
Yeah, that's gross. To Morgan's chagrin, it's fall weather here, and I'm very excited about it. I have long sleeve on. I wore a sweater yesterday, but then I sweat because I was going to the metro. So I was like walking out. I was like, fuck, it's hot.
Yeah.
But it was still very exciting. And yeah, it's been good. I feel like we haven't recorded in a while, but we have. I don't know. I think we just used to record so much per week that like now that it's slowing down, it just seems different, you know?
Right.
And we've also just recently wrapped up the last of our side hustle summer shorts, which was really fun. That was a really, really fun series. And I'm excited to see what the future holds with that, you know, being able to check back in with folks and see how their ventures are going, because I do think it's pretty special that we have a platform that we can actually like showcase people and let them talk about their own craft, you know. It definitely gave me a whole it gave me a newfound respect for business owners and what that really takes, you know. So yeah, it's a bittersweet, but it was definitely a really good summer to feature some really cool people. So
Yeah, that was really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope you guys liked it too. I thought it was so interesting. I feel like I got something out of every interview.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so interesting to hear the different ways that people are going about their side hustle.
I know. Yeah.
You know, and I thought they gave like such good advice.
Right.
Such interesting people. That was so fun.
Yeah, it was. And too, you know, you think about it, like our identity is so much more than what we do, right? And so the fact that we know so many people within our orbit that have really kind of expanded on like the idea of like, what do you do, right? It's like, well, my day job is this, but I also have a hobby or I have an interest or a business in this, and you know, I kind of poured into it. Like that takes a lot of effort, as we know.
Yeah.
We are living testament. It is it's a daily struggle, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we hope to be able to, like I said, you know, wrap around. Nope, that's not what I meant to say.
Rand's really hoping for a wraparound. That's great.
We hope it is hello. We hope, oh my God. But we hope that we can circle back with some of those folk, or all of them, honestly, in the future. But yeah, if there's anyone that you all know out there that you would like us to feature or that we can get in touch with, definitely let us know. And also, don't forget to subscribe, like the show, rate, review, do everything that you can to keep supporting us so that, you know, we can keep this train going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep it from going off the rails.
Yeah. Too late.
Yeah. That's where we started.
Right. Yeah.
That's
but anyway,
so
how
true.
are
Yeah. Oh, no, go ahead.
But how are you?
I'm good. Still sweating, unfortunately, over here on the West Coast, but really, you know what? I actually ordered like 2 sweaters already. It might just be wishful thinking at this point, but
yes.
I will be wearing them soon.
Yeah.
So that is exciting. It's also getting into spooky season, which you know I love. Ryann and I have had some conversations around like scary movies coming out and different things to like, to her chagrin, but to my delight, all the things that she's like, oh my God, I accidentally watched a preview for this movie. It was horrifying. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good one. So love this time of year. We're also approaching our 1 year.
My God, I know. That's fucking wild.
So wild.
But it's really cool. Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah.
So interesting to see where we started, where we were last October to where we are now.
Oh yeah.
Like,
definitely.
damn. So cool. So cool. And we'll talk more about that in the coming episodes, guys. But
Yes.
let me just say it's really exciting. We wouldn't be here without you. And we have so much more to give. So, like Ryann said, if we are doing something right, please let us know. Yeah, rate,
Yeah.
review, subscribe, tell your friends, do all the things.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So, well, enough of that. Let's get into it.
Yes.
Oh, also, side note, we hope you guys enjoyed having Jose on the podcast.
Oh,
We also
yes.
hope you got some tips from our anal sex episode. That was
Mm.
really fun to talk about. If you want to share
Yeah.
a story, don't forget to slide into our DMs or reach out wrongthepodcast@gmail.com. We would
Yes.
love to share.
Yes. We really would.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it. So, as always, we're not doctors, we're not experts, we're just two friends trying to figure it out. And this week's episode, we have some experience with. I don't know. I would say I've done this wrong and probably will in the future. Ryann, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. She's got a pretty relaxed relationship, so this could still be on her roster. We'll see. But so we are talking about first dates.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Cringe. Yeah. No, they suck. They're terrible. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it. So
I know. They're so romanticized, but it's mostly awkward and kind of feels like a job interview. So
always feels
always.
like a job. Like I'm more comfortable going into a job interview.
Yeah.
That
Right.
feels more comfortable for me than like going on
Yeah.
a
Because
first
at least,
date.
at least I know I'm qualified for that, you know?
Right. Yeah. Right. At least they're only measuring me on my professional skills. It's not
Right.
someone looking at you at like your emotional intelligence and your judging your looks or, like
Yeah.
it's the whole thing.
It's the whole package. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's talk about first date awkwardness.
Perfect place to start.
Yes, right. All right. So first dates are usually always awkward in some capacity. Here are some things that are bound to happen. All right. Let's go down the list. So the first one is a weird introduction.
Hmm.
So are you supposed to kiss, hug, or shake hands?
Mm.
Additionally, if it's a blind date or a date that you arranged online,
Hmm.
you might not necessarily recognize the person right away.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never been in that position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never had like a situation where I was like I wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
However, I feel like if anything's different in like the negative where it's like, oh, you know what I mean. I'm not even going to like say what features could it be. We'll just say it height. But if it's something that you feel immediately disappointed by, like how do you come back from that? Like you hope that they have good conversation? I don't know. That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that initial, oh, that's the person, hopefully is like even or above. You know what I mean? Like even expectations are above, but expectations are fucking tough,
Tough. Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
How do you feel about people saying I'm a hugger? You know, like when you go in to like shake someone's hands, you know how when you go in to shake someone's hand and they're like, I'm a hugger and like give you a hug. Like, how do you feel about that?
I rarely hug my friends and my family. I can't believe you're asking me this question unless you just want me to share this with the audience because like when's the last time we hugged? Weren't you like getting on a plane to go to like to the other side of the country? Like it's gotta be like something big, you know what I mean? Jose's a hugger. Jose will hug me a lot,
Oh
but
yeah.
he's usually the initiator.
That's true. I probably hug your parents more than you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Well,
just
I would yeah,
how do you feel? How do you feel if someone is like, I'm a hugger? Like that just feels like, oh, I like to invade your personal space. Here I come. Like
no,
I'm gonna say this
exactly.
thing. It's like saying no offense before you say something offensive. It's like why? Why are you a hugger? Maybe that's what I should do next time someone does that. I should be like, oh, put my hand up. Hold on a
I mean,
second.
yeah.
I need to know why. Like, what's your motive? This probably goes back to my trust issues. But like, don't touch me in an intimate way like that. I don't know you.
I didn't know that it was going to be that telling, but it's true. Morgan is not a hugger. But I was thinking more so, yeah, it's like putting the onus on the other person by being like, this is just who I am. Hopefully you accept it immediately, which like you have like 0.2 seconds to, yeah, decide if you're going to put the hand up and be like, but I'm not. And then now you're the asshole. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I've had that happen a lot. It's usually like friends of friends. Like if I'm meeting a group of people, I feel like there's always someone in the group while you're like shaking hands, and there's always that one like I'm a hugger, and they just like give you a hug. Um,
Yeah.
Usually it's a woman or someone that's at least non-threatening. I'll say that.
Right.
But I do just feel like on the first date, even if you've been chatting for a few days, you know, whatever, like unless you set up the precedent, like, oh, I can't wait to hug you, maybe just into this person. Then otherwise, like sit down, you know, put your hand out and sit down. Like that's it. Like we don't need to immediately make
I feel like
contact.
shaking hands is weird too, though.
Well, it is, but like what else do you do? Just like wave?
I don't know. This is why we're talking about this because I don't fucking know. I think the last first date I went on, we did hug, like like an awkward side hug. We had been
Oh,
talking online
yeah.
before,
Yeah.
so we did have some like conversation prior to meeting, face to face.
Right,
But
right.
but yeah, I mean, now that we're like trying to break it down and think about this, like none of this feels comfortable. Like weird introduction. I don't think this is like these things could happen. I feel like this thing is going to happen.
Yes, yes. No, exactly. I mean, I will say just because the reason I was throwing it out there is I am comfortable with hugging, like I'm okay with that. But I do feel like when it's of the opposite sex, I do have to be a little bit more guarded. Let's just be real. Like men are trash out there. Yeah, men, all of them. No, I'm just
Mm,
kidding.
mm.
Most, but you know, whatever. So I am a little bit more guarded, and it just feels like you get too much access to my body way too soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not to say they're all intentions are weird. However, it's just based on past experience. Like I feel like you just get too much access immediately.
Yeah.
But I will say on some of like the nice dates that I went on, we didn't hug immediately. Like we just like both kind of walked up to the area at the same time, or you know, met in a bar or whatever, and it was just like, oh hey, you know, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it didn't have to be the immediately like let's touch, because yeah, I don't know you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be a weird introduction, but I do feel like there's ways to make it less awkward, and one of them is not immediately hugging. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So next one is you don't know how to split the bill.
Oh,
Yeah. Which, okay. So it says, do you go Dutch? Do you expect them to pay? What if the date is out of your budget or the other person has ordered a ton of expensive items? Which is like totally true. I mean, that seems really rude, but like could happen.
it could. I've heard of some pretty bad experiences. I do feel like in most dates that I've been on, they're always usually trying to impress.
Yeah.
Um, but then we have the outlier like Yoshinoya boy
Yeah. I was going to say.
who, you know, brought a coupon or something. So,
Well, that was going to be my example because the worst date I ever went on, he had a he had a gift certificate to the movie, which is all we were doing was seeing a movie. And she was like, when he went to use it, she was like, oh, is this for both tickets? And he's like, will it cover both tickets? She's like, no. And he's like, oh. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? So I pulled out my wallet. I was like, I'm not going to do this whole like thing with you. This is awkward as fuck. Like, and the girl's even like looking at us and she's like, wow. And I was like, yeah. The date got
oh,
even worse. So depending on where
yeah.
this conversation goes, I'll let you guys know the end of it as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
but I think keeping like if it's a first date, I probably wouldn't do something super extravagant anyway.
No.
Like most first dates, yeah, it was like the movies or like getting a drink. Like
Right, right.
it was not something where the bill would be crazy anyway.
Right, right, exactly. Which we'll talk about the types of first dates, I'm sure, a little bit later, because movies as a date is really not it's
No,
not where it's at, you know? After,
no,
like, age 17, you need to, like, move up to something. Like, if
right.
we can't sit across from each other and make eye contact and, like, actually, like, get into a conversation, probably not gonna be the best date. However, I do know of, like, people that are more so, like, serial daters where they just, like, want to go have dinner with someone or, wanna meet somebody new with no hopes of it actually going further. So I do
Yeah,
feel like in our present day dating culture, like going Dutch, as they put it, right? Or like just splitting the bill is a lot more popular. Um, but yeah, I also do think it depends on who asked who out and like how they asked you out, right? Like if it's like, hey, do you want to hang out after lunch or after lunch? Hey, do you want to hang out after work? Or, oh, are you in the area? We could grab something to eat. Like I feel like that's more of like split the bill energy.
mhm.
Whereas if they're just like trying to impress you, right? Like I just want to take you out, I just want to wine and dine you. That's a little different because it's like, yeah, you want to court me, which I mean, who wouldn't want to? But but that gives the idea that like you want to do this thing for me, right?
Yeah,
Um, but I do think, yeah, putting too much investment in the first date is kind of like a waste. It's like a bad investment. You know what I mean?
right.
Start with something simple like drinks or, or whatever, walk in the park. Um, and then see if it's actually worth putting any money into. Like,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Mhm. All right, next one is the setting is too loud. So if you're like at a bar, restaurant, or out in public, at some point it's going to get loud and you won't be able to hear what your date is saying. The example is you'll nod your head when your crush asks you a very specific question, or you'll respond by saying, "That's amazing," when your date told you their grandma has been dead for 5 years.
Have you been in a situation like this?
Um, no, but I mean, it's always awkward when you have to like backtrack because you're like, oh, okay, like in any conversation. So
Yeah.
this happening with a date would be, probably worse.
Right. Yeah. You're like nodding and then you're like, wait, what did you say? I'm sorry.
Right. But I mean, thankfully everyone does it. So like
True.
most people will know that like, oh, they thought I said one thing or maybe I don't know. I think do you question it when someone like thinks they know what you said and then goes, "Wait, what?" Do you
I
like thinking
mean,
you're
I I feel like I've been in this situation more than once where I know that the other person had no idea what I said, and I just kind of like made eye contact long enough to where they were like, "Wait, what did you say?" I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. I knew you
So
didn't
you
hear me."
put them on the spot.
Yes, I lean
Okay.
into the cringe. Like I
You
don't
do.
mind an awkward moment. Maybe that's why first dates have never been too awkward for me. I mean, we'll get to the negatives of first dates later, but I think the biggest thing is that like yeah, you really just have to decide on like what you want this first date to be. Because I do feel like whether it's too loud or too quiet, i.e. the movies, like you're not going to really get a chance to know that person.
Yeah.
And so maybe if you started somewhere loud, like I've been on first dates that we went to like the type of place that has like the type of place that has multiple eateries or it has music
Mm,
going on. Like there is a lot going on, right? There's chaos going on. And so you might say after you're done eating, like, oh, you want to take a walk around, like the outdoor area, whatever. And that is a good way to like keep the conversation going. But I actually do feel like the noise of like a noisy place is kind of good to start because there's like distractions enough that just in case this is not going to work out, you can kind of be like, okay, well, like, oh, it's loud in here, right? Bye. Kind of thing,
right.
and make your exit strategy. I think that's actually more of a positive than a negative. And if you really do enjoy that person's company, hopefully you'll, go somewhere else at a quieter place or something.
Right.
Or even outside on the patio or something and be able to chat a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right, next one is one of you is late.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, Ryann.
Have you never been late to a date?
No.
Oh, are you always prompt to dates? That's nice.
I mean, I'm not like, well, I'm late sometimes to
I
things.
know. I was like, I don't think I'm alone in this.
I'm
You're probably less
I'm
late than I am.
I was gonna say I'm less late than you.
Okay.
If I'm doing something with someone who is late, I will feel more relaxed in not being on time. Like I will absorb that energy and be like, we have time. It's fine. Like I'm going somewhere with Ryann. I already know we're gonna be at least a half an hour late.
That's fair. That's
So
fair.
yeah. It's
Well,
okay.
I showed up 15 minutes late to my last first date. And but it was because I was in the car, like I hadn't been on dates in a while. Like I think I had been off the apps for like more than half a year or so, as far as for dating. And I was nervous. I was on the phone with Jose in the car, like, oh my God, should I even go to this date? I was like, I don't even know. And Jose was like, Ryann, just get out of the car. And I was like, I don't know if I want to, whatever. And so when I walked up, he was sitting there and I was like, oh, and we had a great time. But later I did find out, like months later, he was like, actually, it was probably like a week later. Ben is very honest. He was like,
Yeah,
I
I
almost
was gonna say,
left.
is it Ben? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
He is
like, I
not
almost left.
patient. He is not
No, not
patient.
at all. He was like, because I did text him. I was like, hey, I'll be a few minutes late. But a few minutes from 7 p.m. is like 7:04, like that's kind of the few minutes. It was 7:15 easily. And I was like, huh? You know. But
But
again, the
that is
date,
a few minutes late for you.
yes.
Like 4 minutes after would be late for Ben.
Right.
15 minutes later would be the few minutes that you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. On time for me was
So,
like 7:10. So
yeah. Right.
but yeah, I do get why it's important to be on time though, because it is your first impression. But honestly, it was the most accurate first impression of me ever. So I mean, he just got a glimpse into my real life.
That's true. You were honest from the jump. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, it says so occasionally one of you will get lost going to the restaurant or have difficulty parking. Your Lyft driver can take a wrong turn, or maybe you spend a little too long getting ready and you're running late. Um, 15 minutes is usually like the wait time, they say. Or like a 10-minute grace period for parking or traffic. But if they're like more than 20 minutes late, it might be a red flag. Like they're either inconsiderate, don't respect your time,
Right.
or they're not coming.
Well, that's my thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I would have stayed in my car another 5 minutes, I wasn't going to get out the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really true. I've been to like friend hangouts where like I just meet somebody for the first time. And funny enough, I do actually try to be on time with friend hangouts more so because like we talked about in the friendship breakup episode, like those are, there's no real, like we said, return on investment with friendships, right? Like that's
Yeah.
just you really like wanting to spend time with another person platonically, right? And
Right.
so I do actually, the few times that I've met new people and that like we've hung out, I do try to be pretty prompt for that. But I will say for first dates, if you're like dating in the city, I don't know, that's tough because like what if there's just like a car accident on like out here the 495, but like what if there's a car accident on the 101 or wherever you are?
Right.
Like you're just kind of screwed. Like what do you do?
I mean, I think at that point you like text them, but if it's a first date, if I got that text, I might be like, you could just say you didn't want to meet me. or I would Google
Mm,
101 freeway accidents,
yeah. Yeah.
and see if they're lying.
Right. I mean, there's always an accident. So
I know that's true. That's a great excuse. Everyone write that one down if you're in California because
But it also depends on your rapport so far, right? Like if it's been a really good time chatting and it really just something like came up and you really, couldn't make it on time or like, hey, do you have like an extra hour? I'm so sorry. I do feel like if it's right, like if the vibe was okay before, I think you would make an exception for it. And I think
I think
that,
so too. And like if it was going that well, you probably wouldn't have like an engagement that follows up on that where you're like, oh, I really was hoping you were going to be here by 6 because I have to be somewhere by 8. Like,
Yeah.
no, ideally this date was going to go well and we may spend the evening together. So
Right. That's true.
I
Ooh,
hope you
that's a
don't
good point.
have follow-up plans. Like,
Yeah. Ooh, I was meeting my friends for ice cream down on the pier, so like
right.
you
Yeah.
weren't planning on being here too long either way.
Uh, okay, so next one, kind of what Ryan was talking about earlier. They don't look like their photos. You have been catfished.
You go first. What do you think?
I mean, I think you should go into this with like a grain of salt because like no one looks like their photos anymore,
Yeah.
you know? Or a lot of people will send updated photos because like your profile is your profile. But like if it were an online dating situation, I feel like if you've been texting, a lot of people do send videos or maybe FaceTime
Yeah.
or do share more recent photos.
Yes.
So
Yes.
potentially you could avoid this.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Especially in the digital age. I highly recommend for dating to send photos, send videos, like see what this person speaks like. Do they have a lisp? But like what is going on? I mean, not that a lisp is bad. It's very cute. Actually, I was just listening to this podcast with this like Australian comedian and they have a lisp and I just thought it was so adorable, like the Australian accent with the lisp, like
Mm,
I just thought it was so cute. But I do think it's important to see like, yeah, like would you be able to like look at this person talk all the time? I mean, these are things that you really need to think about, like
yeah.
even some of the cutest people that I've met or the most, hegemonically beautiful or attractive people that I've met, I'm like, I can't stare at your face. Like I can't stare at your face for a long time. This is weird. So I do highly recommend like use tech to your advantage. Do not let like catfishing happen because yeah, even if it is an old photo or it's like a nice photo, right, from a wedding,
Yeah.
what do they look like when they, not necessarily wake up in the morning, but like what do they look like on a Saturday? What do they look like after work? How do they wear their hair? Maybe they cut their hair and you're like, oh, that actually looks a lot different than I thought, like I
Right.
think it's important to get a well-rounded view of that person before you see them in person. Like we do live in
Yeah.
2022. We can make those adjustments to make sure that we're not catfished. So I'm
Right.
sorry if you're catfished at this day and age. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Right.
right?
You aren't blameless.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like
I believe it was Maya Angelou that once said, "We are only as blind as we want to be."
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. That's from Girls.
Yeah, but in this day and age, do you think that you can truly be catfished? Like genuinely, like, wow, I showed up and this is a completely different person than who I thought. Do you think that can actually happen?
Yeah, I think.
How?
I think.
Like genuinely happen?
I mean, I think the person being catfish probably has some inkling. Like
Right.
that show Catfish, like you you called the production team to tell them about your story because you had an inkling that something was going on.
Exactly.
So I think yeah, like some people want to be naive and think maybe this person is talking to them,
Fair.
you know. So I think it could be possible, but I don't think it's not just a bunch of people with their head in the sand that have no idea. They might have some idea,
Fair. Okay, maybe
maybe
we'll
they're
do an
just
episode on
hopeful.
catfishing because apparently it's a whole thing now that it's evolved, right? It's not just about creating a fake profile. Like it's really evolved in the ways and mediums that people use to catfish. It's a little bit different
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll get into that on like a separate episode. But yeah, let's go back to first dates.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Next one, they bring up their ex.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ryan and I were just having a conversation about this earlier today.
Yeah.
Not cool. So it says this is definitely a major red flag, but it can happen a lot. Sometimes people use dating apps as a way to distract themselves from breakups in an attempt to get over an ex. Um but but then it says, I'm here, trying to work on my love life. I'm not here to be a therapist,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to briefly touch on maybe past experiences,
Yeah.
but not to on a very superficial level, at least on
Fair.
a first date.
Right, right. The first initial meeting. I mean, yeah, exactly, right? Like on a first interview for a job, right? You're not going to be like, yeah, that last company I worked for fucking sucked, you know? Like, I
Right.
mean, that could be the truth. And you might, yeah, sugarcoat it in a way. And maybe later you get comfortable with those people at the new company and then you tell them about your past experience. But it's after you got in the job kind of thing, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I will say, I think it depends on how it comes up. If it's really natural, like I will say, if you really are just genuinely having a good, honest conversation with the person, and maybe you've had good conversation up until this point, and you just want to be honest, like, look, I got out of a relationship a few months ago, you know, whatever. But even still, as I'm saying it, I'm not mentioning the ex. I think the idea, like you said, we were just talking about this, is that you would be talking about the person and not
Yeah.
necessarily the relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a
Yes.
very big difference, like a very distinctive factor in that situation.
Right. And I don't know if there's a good way to bring up the ex, because if it's positive, it sounds like you want to get back with them. And
Right.
if it's negative, it sounds like you are just bashing on that person and maybe feeling like kind of blameless in the situation. And,
Yes.
like relationships end for all types of reasons,
Right. Right.
but, we all have to take accountability for situations.
Yes.
So I don't think there's a good way of bringing up an ex, but I do like that point that you said. If you're talking about past relationships, maybe be more general.
Right.
Say
Right.
relationships, don't talk about that one ex specifically and like,
Yeah. That crazy bitch. Yeah, that's not.
right.
And that goes for all genders, honestly. I mean,
Right.
but I will say people's lives are very intertwined. Like, this was something that I had to really realize with my current partner. Like, before I met him, he was with his ex for years, you know, like a long time. And so a lot of like past experiences, stories, like were going to be wrapped up inevitably with this person, you
Yeah.
know, until we were together long enough to make our own experiences and memories and stories, you know. And so I do think that's one thing to be said. Like, you know, if they got out of a relationship and it was like a relationship of 7 years or something, right? Like, that's a very long time. Like, most of their stories and anecdotes probably happened with that person, you know. So I will say
Yeah.
in some ways it's understandable, but like I said, if it takes like the front seat of every conversation and it's just like, oh yeah, can't do that anymore because my fucking ex, you know, it's like, all right, I'm gonna need you to like figure it
Right.
out.
Or if like the bread comes and they're like, my ex loved breadsticks. I just, like both sides of the same coin.
Yes.
Both red.
Yeah, fair. That's why we need to normalize therapy, because this is what
Yes.
happens. People keep it bottled up, and then the first person they start talking to, it just
Right.
comes out on them. And it's not
Yeah.
necessarily that person's fault. It's just that, like, we don't have a really normal culture, especially if you're talking about straight men or just men in general. Like,
Yeah.
that's a very normal response because they're probably not talking to their close friends about it. So,
Right.
yeah.
True. 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 All right. And our last one is awkward first kiss. So, do you kiss on the first date? I think
I
that would
mean,
be the
it's
question.
usually not a date that we're kissing anyway, but
Oh yeah, that's a different thing.
yeah. But on a first date, I actually think no. I think no to kissing, because if it really was a good date, like hopefully when I see you next time, it'll be just as good, just as exciting. Like I told you, like the personal boundary thing, I think is a really like sexy, intriguing point to like keep the mystery, or you know what I mean? Or like that,
Yeah.
like quote unquote spark, you know, it doesn't have to be like fireworks, but I do think it's interesting because I think just like respecting of space is really important. And maybe that's because of my past experiences. My space was not always respected on the first dates, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think finally meeting people that were very respectful of that was a big turn on for me, because I was like, thank you for not immediately, yeah, just invading my personal space.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Mm, I I have yet to have a first date first kiss is all I'll say. So, I don't have an experience to pull from where I was like, it was totally worth it. It wasn't awkward
Mhm.
at all. Like, no,
Yeah.
I've skipped it every time. So,
Yeah. Yoshinoya boy tried to move in on a first kiss with me, and I was like, I totally put him out there. I was like, "Are you trying to kiss me right now? Is this your move?"
ah,
He was like, "Yeah."
mm,
It didn't work. I was like, "Okay, bye." So,
yeah. You're like, it really didn't. See you later. Or
yeah,
not. Deleting the app now.
literally. Ugh.
All right. So, can we think of any other major awkwardness? Anything else pop up in?
I'll say so if you went to a restaurant, like, is popular or just get something to eat, I will say what you order can sometimes be awkward. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? Or if the other person is like a weirdo at restaurants and is like sending shit back. I've heard of that happening on first dates.
Mm,
Um, yeah, that would be the biggest thing. I think the way we've talked about that, but like the way that you conduct yourselves in public is very
yeah.
important and very telling. The way
Right.
you treat people, the way you tip, the way you
Yes.
don't tip.
Yes.
God.
I was thinking that when you started bringing up like restaurants and stuff, I was like, oh, bad tipper.
Yeah,
I think we brought that up on our red flags episode,
right.
but for sure, bad sign on a first date. And that
Yeah.
would be awkward too, right? Because what if they are paying and
Mhm.
then they don't give a tip or leave a shitty tip? Like, do you reach into your bag and like throw like another, like some cash down to be like,
Right.
you're a
Right.
bad tipper? Like,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
ugh.
I know. I will say I do remember one time, I can't remember which app this was off of, but I went on a first date and I wanted to take leftovers home and he like made a thing of it, and which only makes me double down. Like, you are not going to shame
Mm.
me into not getting a doggy bag. And I was like, okay, like, so we'll wait a second while she brings the box out. Like, I don't care. Morgan knows I'm not going to waste food, especially not for you. Like, who was that guy? I don't even remember his name,
Right.
but I'm sure that food was good, you know? I just like crossed my arms and everything. I was like very
Right.
upset about it.
Yeah, you're reliving it right now. You
Yeah.
have the whole stance going.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's interesting. Like, when people are already like judgmental on the first date, like, this probably isn't going to work out, like, unless you're like into negging or something. But
He probably was like, "Oh, where are you gonna put those leftovers when you're, coming home with me?" That's probably the thought.
probably, but either way, right? Like, no.
Yeah.
So,
Mm. Well, let's so let's talk about some do's and don'ts. So we kind of went over these, but maybe to get rid of some of the awkwardness, we
mhm,
shall see. So the first one, don't be late.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, we
Oh,
know.
wait. Sorry. I want to add this to things that are awkward. How dates end, like how to end a date, like, that has been awkward in the past. Like, if you go out to dinner, it's not necessarily agreed upon that right after dinner you'll just be like, okay, bye, like, let's go our separate ways. That sometimes is awkward, deciding when the date is actually over. Like, do we get
Yeah.
dessert, especially if you're like in an outdoor mall area or something, like, oh, there's like a cute little, like, pretzel place, like, let's go get some, and it's just like, when does it end? You know what I mean? Okay, next, do you want espresso? Like, when does the date actually come to a halt? And what if you have to walk the same way to the parking garage? You know what I mean? That's awkward.
I mean, I think it depends on how it was going.
Well, yeah.
Like, if
But how
if
do
you
you
don't
end a
want it
date?
if you don't want it to end, you're like, "Oh, there's ice cream here." Like, "Oh,
Okay,
sure."
scenario.
But
Let's say our date was just like meh. It wasn't bad, but it was just like, all right, like, they're cool. Maybe we'll text later. Okay. So we're walking out of the restaurant. Okay. We're walking out. And I say, oh, well, it's a nice night out.
oh,
Are you
me?
going to
My
respond?
turn?
See? Yes, it's your turn. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, what do you say? Like, if you
Um,
want the date to end, right? Because you're kind of like, it
if
wasn't
it was like
special.
meh,
Yeah, if it
yeah.
was like meh, but they were like, oh, like, this is a nice area, like, I could go for a walk. There's like some dessert places.
Uh, I'd probably make up an excuse.
What's
if I
your, but
wasn't
that's what I'm
feeling it.
saying. What's your excuse? Like,
I'd be like, oh, I have to get up early. I should really head home.
oh, we all know what that means.
Well, good. So the signals aren't crossed. It's better
Okay,
than saying,
fair.
I don't want to see you again.
All right, fair. Okay, all right.
But okay, let's say you really did have something going on. I think it's still okay to say that. Just be like, I had a really great time tonight. I'd love to do
Yeah.
something again with you soon. I can't tonight because I need to be up early, but like, I'll
Okay.
text you when I get home so we can, see when
Okay.
we're both free again.
Okay, that's fair. So
Yeah.
even if it was genuinely like, no, I actually can't stay, or oh no, because sometimes you do have plans after, like it is just a first date, but you'd be like, oh, I actually made plans, but I'd love to chat soon. Like, please text me, let me know you get home safe. I think that's a really good way to get out of awkward situations because it sounds very, I mean, hopefully it's sincere, but like, oh, this was nice, but let me know you get home safe, and we'll talk soon. That's a good way to kind of end it on a nice note without like explicitly saying like, no, I want it to be over right now.
Right. Would you rather have someone just tell you, like, I don't think this is like what I'm looking for? Like, you seem like a nice person, but I don't really know if like we mesh well. Like,
I mean, I'd like to be a mature person and say yes,
I
but
know,
I
right?
but I think I'd rather them lie and just be like, oh, oh, like my, I got my car valeted and like it's gonna close, like make up something like,
Right.
oh, my dog got out, like they just text me, like I don't know,
Right.
tell me a lie and let me just get out of there, without.
Would you do, and I don't think we ever did this, but would you do the like tell your friend to text you there's an emergency if there's like to get you out of something?
Yes, but I feel like you and Jose would probably make me laugh.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, Ryan, like I've slipped," or like some
Yeah.
dumb shit, and I'd be,
Yeah.
"Oh no, haha!" Like, okay, coming,
Right.
but I definitely would for sure. I feel like I've had that happen, but more on like a hookup situation where like I wanted to get out of there, and I was like, "Can you call me?" I feel like I've done that before.
Uh, like that's not a good hookup situation if they don't understand that once it's done, someone's leaving.
Yeah.
What it, you're like amateur hour, bro. Get out. Or I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Either way,
Yes.
somebody's leaving.
I've had lingerers for sure though.
Ugh.
Oh, I had that one guy be like, "Oh, where do you think you're going?" And I was like, "Away from you forever." And that's what I
Yeah.
did. I was like, "Oh no, I gotta go."
Yeah. No.
It was ill. It was very ick. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I know. Moving
Ugh.
on.
All right. All right. So do's and don'ts. So maybe we can make it a little less awkward. So first dating don't is don't be late. So we already kind of talked about this. There are some exceptions,
Yeah.
some real excuses. They all might feel like bullshit.
Yeah.
It's a toss up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it can be considered inconsiderate. uh
Yeah.
I know a lot of considers in there, but or disrespectful. So
Yeah.
next one is don't look at your phone. What do you think?
I agree to a certain extent. I do agree to a certain extent. I think checking in on your phone versus looking at your phone are two different things.
Yeah.
Um Have you ever been on a date where a guy was like on their phone or like, just kind of looking at it more than you'd hope when you're trying to get to know somebody?
Um no, not specifically.
Yeah, I feel like our generation kind of understands that lines,
Yeah.
like you check it before you get in. You might even like look at it as you're sitting down at dinner or whatever. But I do think for the most part, most of the people who I've been on dates with, even if they weren't like the best person in general, weren't like scrolling. No, I don't think I've
Right.
ever been sitting in front of somebody that was scrolling. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um next don't is don't come on too strong. So, don't say you're a hugger. That's number 1.
Yeah. Yeah,
um
that's tough. But yeah, I agree.
yeah, so coming on too strong can be a huge turnoff for a lot of people. Um they were saying like using pet names like Babe and Honey is like a huge no-no.
Yeah. It's like
Like we
love bombing
just
too.
met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that happen for sure. I've had that happen on dating apps, like still messaging. Hey babe, good morning. I'm not your babe. Like, no. No.
Right. I'm not big into like pet names from like platonic people. You know what I mean? You know, there's those people who are just like, hey babe, hey like what do
Yeah.
people say?
Yeah, babe, sweet, sweetheart. Hey love. I say that. I'm that person. I don't do it to
You don't
you
say hey love
because
to me.
yeah, because you're ice cold, Morgan. But I do say it to other people. Yeah, I say
You
it
know
to
what Jose says? He goes, hello, dear. And I'm like,
he does.
okay, okay, grandma. Like,
See,
what did
most people
you
do it. That's like a very form that's a very common form of endearment to friends and, you know.
he says it to like the person at the Del Taco drive through.
Yeah, because Jose's like 72 at heart.
He really is. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got an old lady trapped in his young gay man body.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, dear. That just reminds me of like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. We just talked about this, you know, he's just like this cute little gay man that can just like say whatever and everybody's like,
Yeah.
ah, dear, adorable. So,
Right. Like how would that sound coming out of my mouth?
I mean, again, it's
Probably
you.
mean. Yeah. Probably kind
Yeah,
of
very
rude.
condescending. It's like, hi, dear. It's like,
Right.
wow.
Like, does she think I'm stupid?
And you
Ryann would
probably
just
do.
be like, she does.
Yeah.
Ooh, she called her dear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, not into it on a first date, that's for sure.
Yeah, fair.
Next one is don't focus on yourself.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So, like to excess, obviously, like it should be like a mutual conversation getting to know each other.
Mhm.
But if you're just there to talk about yourself and have no questions about the other person, like,
Yeah. Or just return the favor, right? What about you? Like that's such an easy way to flip it to the other person. But again, those social skills, like I will say, I just don't think social awareness is as taught as it should be.
mhm,
Like it is something that comes natural to some people, but I do know a lot of people that I don't think they're aware of how like narcissistic they come off. And I don't mean that in like a way of calling them narcissists. Like I know that's not like as common as like people use that word, but I do think a lot of times people do lack social awareness. Like
yeah,
I would say like a good 60 to 70% of our culture or society does not have like the social awareness skills that are necessary, which is why I think dating ends up being so hard. I don't think that it's because everybody truly just sucks and is bad at it. I just think dating is so awkward because of the way that we've created it in our society.
yeah,
But like people, I've heard people say that like he didn't ask me anything about him, like myself, and it's like, yeah, maybe because he just doesn't know how to do that, or maybe she doesn't, or they don't, you know, maybe they just
right.
never, maybe nobody's asked them about themselves, and so they just really want to tell someone, you know, like I don't
Aw,
think it's always because they're just so self-absorbed, you know what I mean?
right. Yeah.
Um, and two, I think also just like knowing how to work a conversation, like you can definitely talk about yourself without the other person asking you outright. You know what I mean? Like you can definitely like interject in conversations about your opinion on things without somebody saying, "What's your opinion?" or like, "How do you do things?" You know what I mean? It's like I think
The
it's a give
flow
and
of
take.
conversation. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Next one are the do's.
Mhm.
So, what can we do?
Mhm.
Number 1, choose your outfit carefully.
Oh.
So, although it does seem shallow, appearance does make a big difference on a first date.
Mhm.
Dressing super casual can give off the vibe that you don't really care about making a good first impression.
Mhm.
Consider the activity, which again is a point that I want to emphasize because like don't want to like show up in like heels and like a mini skirt to go-kart racing. That's
Right.
not going to be fun.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, just saying.
Yeah.
Um all right. So, consider the activity, then dress how you would when meeting friends for the same occasion. Comfort is key here. Wear something that you feel like yourself in and makes you feel attractive. The ease and confidence will be obvious to your date.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Same thing like for a job interview. Like don't wear the blazer that is like tight around, your armpits and like
Oh,
you feel awkward. We all been there.
yes.
Blazers
That's
are
a
so
great
awkward.
example. They are. They are
They're
so
just awkward.
awkward.
Ugh, I know. I'm gonna say I hate blazers. I don't think that they're as like cute and as trendy as they're always put out in the media. You know what I mean? It's like an
Yeah.
oversized blazer. Like, no, I just look like I'm in my dad's jacket. Like, I don't think it actually looks that good on me.
Right. I like to think that I would look cute in that,
Yeah.
but I don't have the body for that.
Fair.
The jacket's gonna wear me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna wear the jacket. I'm too short, too round. It's not gonna be a good look for me.
That's fair. You're right. Okay.
And if you get a more fitted blazer, at least in like a woman's cut,
yeah,
it's gonna be, it's gonna look like something your grandma would wear or Jose, like we were talking about.
he looks great in a blazer.
Right. And he probably saw his shoulder pads. It's like there hasn't been like an update to that look in like
No.
30 years. So
No. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, just comfortable.
That's
just
fair.
for the occasion.
Yeah, I agree on that. And also too, just like more close to what you would wear on the everyday. And some people really do dress up all the time. I mean, some people that really is what they like to do. I still think though, like why, give all the glitz and glam at first, like see if they're really there for like the real thing, right? Because again, not everyone's going to look like that every day. But again, there are people that I do know that dress up all the time. That's just what they like to do. And so fair enough. Like but like you said, wear what you would wear anyway.
Right.
But I did start dressing down on dates, mostly because I was just like, I'm not doing all this. It was just like minimal effort for me. But I do think that there's something to be said about like minimal effort, but still looking nice, still looking presentable, not looking like you just got off of work,
or just rolled out of bed.
Like some people are like, oh,
I have gone on a date where that's what he looked like.
Please elaborate.
So we were going to a bar for a drink.
Mm-hmm.
So I wore like some little wedge heels, some nice jeans, a cute top. Full face of makeup. And he wore a t-shirt with Chunk from the Goonies doing the truffle shuffle and like some cargo shorts and some like old...
true cargo shorts, not just the color, like pockets, everything.
Yes. Yes.
Were they full?
Old Converse, not even old Vans, all black Vans. Old though, like his everyday shoes, not like his date shoes.
Oh.
And you could see his socks, which were different colors. Like bright colors, like a blue and a red. They were ankle socks, but they were showing because Vans are low cut, as we know.
You had me at the cargo pants or shorts, whatever. Like, he's lucky you even stayed for the drink. I mean, at that point, you need a drink. So, like,
right, yeah. It was interesting.
I mean, no, I've been on dates. Like I've said it before. Like, stop buying shirts in the little boy section, even if they have cartoon characters in the grown men section. You still don't need to wear it on a date. You don't really need to wear it at all, actually. You could just get solid color shirts and wear them instead. And I do think that that's something, like you were saying, dress appropriately for whatever the date is. But for a lot of like straight dudes, they would dress like that anywhere you went. Cargo pants, he could go on a hike, go kart racing.
He was just for any occasion. I mean, he was ready for anything. So
anything. Swamp tours, like he's ready.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And this is to hate on people and what they like to wear. But I think in a first date setting, like, yeah, dress for what you're doing. I mean, unfortunately, it is kind of like a job interview. Like, it feels like that's the closest thing to compare it to. And like, You wouldn't wear cargo shorts to a job interview unless you're trying to get a job at like REI.
Right.
So
But that's the thing.
at
I
the
mean,
time, I was not the manager of REI, so I
right.
did not know why he was wearing them.
I mean, in a way, if that really is just the way he dresses, and if he were to show up with this facade, I mean, I guess he saved you some time. You know what I mean? Like, it was like,
True.
this is what I'm going to look like. So, in a lot of ways, he was just showing himself to be who he was, which I can't really blame him for that. But
Right.
I will say there is a certain like connotation with first dates that you are going to put your best foot forward in
Right.
in some ways. But at the same time, if you don't have a better foot, I mean, it's cargo shorts and Vans in those feet.
Yeah.
So,
This is it, baby.
yeah. This is me.
The next do is listen.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
pretty straightforward. What does it say? Drifting eyes are a telltale sign of boredom, and that will make your date clam up and feel dull.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to feel boring. It feels really mean.
I
Don't make
mean,
people feel boring.
again, if the shoe fits, I don't know what to tell you.
Right. If the cargo shorts fit.
The cargo shorts zip up. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. If the flap pockets button closed. So it says instead of worrying about what you might say next, focus on really listening to what your date is telling you.
Mm.
And if it is truly boring, this is just me. This is the end of the notes. But if it is truly boring, then maybe guide the conversation into something else.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. If he's like a roofer and he's just telling you about every, shingle that he laid down today, like
Right.
there's only so much that I can pull out of you.
Right. So you like the outdoors.
Right.
Change the conversation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Small talk is tough, but I
Ugh,
do,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it is, oh, what do you do? Like, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. But I will say, even those like, quote unquote mundane questions can still be interesting if you're interested in the person. You know what I mean? It's all the way you present it, right? It's not what you say,
Right.
it's how you say it. And so I do think like, adding in small anecdotes about your past, or like where you grew up, or how you got to where you were, like what's funny about your job, or like things like that.
Right.
I do think that there can be humor in that. But I do think sometimes people do take questions a little too literally, and it's like, oh, so where are you from? San Diego. It's cool. Do you like the beach? Oh, not really. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, well,
Right. Yeah. Okay.
round two. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Round two. All right. Next one. Do use good manners.
that's tough.
So that's hard for you. Ryann
Honestly.
always chews with her mouth open. She can't help it.
Okay, first of all, whoa. That's a big accusation you're putting out. I've known you for over a decade. Okay, so I can confidently say that we have a lot of conversation on and off the podcast. Okay, so if I have a full mouth, but I really have something to say, it's gonna be said.
That's true.
It's gonna be said.
I know. I know. You
But on dates, I will say, or like in front of people, I cover my mouth. Like I do this, I'm that eater. Like, I do that. So
why don't you just wait until you're finished chewing before you say something?
I talk a lot, Morgan.
You do. There's no time like the present for you. Like
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think this kind of goes to like tip decently, treat customer service people you interact with like with respect.
Yeah.
Those are kind of just givens, and if they're not, that's a red flag.
Right.
Don't reach over people's plates. That's rude. And don't eat off someone else's plate. on a
If
first date.
that bothers you, Morgan, everyone
It
is not
bothers
like you.
me.
Yeah, well, good that you know that
If
about
I
yourself.
offer, if I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good, you should try it.
You would never do that.
I wouldn't do that because I'd be like, I don't know what you like. I like this. That's why I ordered it.
Oh my god. Okay, so Ben and I's first date, we literally got shareable food.
I mean,
Like we
that's different. That's totally
right,
different. If you're getting like appetizers and stuff, that's
right. Yeah. It was like multiple different types of tacos and like sides. So we just kind of had like a little thing, and so we were just like trying it. Well, so it was like separate, but there were like shareable foods as well, is what I'm
okay.
saying. Yeah.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying. I mean, just like common sense manners for sure. And I do think like it depends on, yeah, like what kind of first date. I mean, I've never had like a really swanky upscale first date where it was like white linen tables, like we're just eating off of like I've never really had that. But
Yeah.
even still, like you're probably gonna, yeah, maybe get an appetizer that is shareable. So you're gonna have to do that. But I do think there's like a nice way to go about it. Excusing yourself to go to the bathroom, like things like that. Like I do know that sometimes like if you don't have a lot of experience in it, just like job interviews, you're gonna like have some trial and error. I also think like being able to chat with people is really important, but I'm not an introvert, so like when I go places, I usually do like chat with the servers or, chat with a bartender or whatever. But I think that that's a good thing because it shows you what my true personality is,
Right.
Whereas I have been around people on first dates or even second dates, where they're super awkward and they don't know how to engage with other people.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so you're just kind of going to be in a relationship like with that person. It's not going to be like a group communal open relationship.
Your kind of relationship. Yeah. That's true. And on
Yeah.
a side note, why are most appetizers coming in odd numbers? I'm just saying this. If we are sharing something,
You're not wrong.
Is this strategy by the restaurant industry?
I think so. When it comes in
Like,
threes, you're asking to do 2 orders.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. What is that?
Yeah. What is I agree. No, I agree.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because even when it's 3 of us, we still get 2 rounds because I want more than one of these. You know what I mean? Whatever it is.
So. Who's only having one egg roll? Show Honestly, me that guy. I'll show you a person I don't trust. You don't like egg rolls?
Not really. I'm not huge on them. I will actually only have one. So yeah, I usually let the other person have the egg rolls. I'm not big on egg rolls. So.
Oh. Well, we should get Asian food next time I see you.
Yeah.
So I can have all the egg rolls. Okay. Moving on. So, should you fuck on the first date?
Yep.
Not you personally. This is a rhetorical question.
Oh, right. Yep. No. What do you think?
I mean, if you want to.
Yeah. If you want
to. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I'm more prone to fucking on the first date if I don't think it's going anywhere, which is odd. But I think that
I don't think that's odd.
Okay, fair. Well, no. That's why we have a podcast together. But I will say, I think it's usually the opposite for most, or whatever. I don't know what most people do. I don't really care. But I do think.
Okay.
I was gonna say like I could compare it to people, but honestly, like when it comes to sex, like I think people are way too conservative when it comes to sex, especially because we know that most people are fucking anyway. Like that's the silly part. Like when you ask people about sex or like sexual intercourse or their endeavors, they're way more conservative than what they're really doing anyway, usually. So I would say yes, like we said, if you're comfortable, if it's consensual, like go for it. You might love that person, you might like that person, you might not like that person, but if it's worth it to you to like, have a sexual experience with them, like sure, go for it. But in my own experience, I do think that there were like multiple times where on first dates I was like, I just don't feel comfortable with you. So like, no, it's not going to keep going, you know? But there were a
Yeah.
few times where I met people where I was like, I don't think this is going anywhere, but like, I'm horny. Like, we can do it. You're nice enough. You know, I feel safe with you, you know, even if I didn't
Right.
like them. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
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 What about you?
Okay. I like the parameters to be very clear.
Mm.
Like, are we only like we only met or are like, doing whatever we're doing to like fuck, right?
Yeah.
Dating is where it can be a little bit blurrier. So
Mm.
I'm not saying I won't,
Right.
but from past experiences, I haven't slept with a first date.
Okay.
But also probably there's probably some things I need to work out with my therapist because I'm putting those things in two very separate compartments. So I don't know.
Interesting. You know, that's interesting because I do think like the majority of my first dates that didn't work out, I did not meet them again. I did not go home with them. Like the majority.
Right. I just kind of am like, no.
Right.
Like I didn't feel the need. Like I wasn't like going into the date thinking like, well, at least I'll get to fuck at the end of this. Like I didn't
Which,
have that mentality. Whereas
yeah.
with hookups or one night stands, that was my mindset. Like, well, I know
Mm,
I'm gonna like get some sex out of this, so cool.
right. Right. Yeah.
So
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, I think it just depends. But for me personally, I have not. But
Okay.
I'm not opposed to it. I
Okay.
think the question of should you is totally up to you.
Okay. Fair.
So while there are many reasons you should not have sex on the first date, you very well should if you want to.
Okay. I was like,
If you're attracted, comfortable, and feel the urge, then do so. If you're having any doubts, then don't. Don't ever do something you don't want to do, but don't ever not do something you want to do. That's what it says. Just
okay.
because others say it's wrong.
Yes. Right. Right. Exactly.
It's totally up to you. It's not based on anyone else's opinion,
Mm-hmm.
preference, what they would do themselves. Totally none
Right.
of your concern.
Right.
Um, do it if your room is clean. Uh, before inviting a person who is a practical stranger into your humble abode, ensure your space is welcoming. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's true across the
Mm-hmm.
board, not just
Mm-hmm.
for first dates. Like
Yes.
I've certainly been in some sketchy places where I'm like, why did we come to your place?
No. That's
Like,
fair.
yeah, yeah. You're both single. It says, while this one should be obvious, it's not always the case for many. If your date shows any signs of having another, he probably has another. They probably have another, but it says he.
Yeah.
If you
Fair.
have another, just stop. Seriously.
Yeah.
Unless you have an open relationship.
Unless you have an open relationship. That's the thing. We've been talking about that more and more. Like that's come up a lot in me and Morgan's conversations lately. Just about like not knowing what other people's relationship is like. You know, you don't know just because a person says they have like a significant other, oh, I have a partner, that does not immediately mean that they are not going to engage in anything outside of that relationship. Now, whether your standards are okay with that or your, standards for yourself are okay with that, that's a different story. But I do think, like, again, I'm not meaning to say it this way, but like it is 2022, like things have evolved. Like, first of all, there's always been open relationships, but now they're even more so okay and like normalized or being normalized at least.
Right.
Um, but I do think for me, as long as we're still talking about first dates, I don't think that's something I would want to like jump into on a first date. I feel like I'd need more information on that and need to know that it was actually okay because like I just like Morgan knows, I just don't want to be in a dramatic situation. Like I don't need you crying after because you're like my partner, like no, like this is not what that's going to be.
Right. Yeah. Don't pull me into your craziness. Like,
Right. Right.
but I think if we're talking about online dating specifically, I think a lot of people, like, if you go on Tinder, there are couples who are like looking for a third. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
the expectations are set from the jump. Like, if you
Yes.
are swiping right on this, profile, then you are agreeing to something where there is maybe another party involved.
True.
Or I don't know. Have you ever come across a bio where someone says like in an have a partner but in an open relationship? That feels like something you might see more on Grindr. I don't know.
Fair. I mean, also I've been off the apps for years now, so I'm really
What
not
have
too sure.
I? I'm
Yeah.
single as fuck, so
Yeah. But I
I should
have
really be the one to tell us, but I
right.
don't
Yeah,
know.
I know. Just for research purposes, Morgan's just for research purposes, you need to get back on the apps. I'm just saying. Um but I will say yes, there were a few times that I saw like looking for a third. I do think I ran across like open relationships a few times, but I don't
Okay.
think it was ever anybody that I actually was interested in. But I mean, yeah, I think it's probably a little bit more popular now, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is you're drunk. So it's safe to say liquid courage leads to many, many successful hookups. It also unfortunately leads to many not so successful hookups. If you're semi drunk and feeling the love, then why not? If you're hammered, go home and hope you're invited on a second date if you want to be. Maybe you got hammered for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe they were awful.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean,
that's
I
neither
feel
here nor
like
there. I feel like that could be either way.
right. Yeah.
I mean, maybe you got, maybe you got drunk because you were flirting with the bartender who ended up being a lot more interesting than the person you came there to meet.
Yes. Yes.
The night can really
Exactly.
take you anywhere if it's
Yeah.
if it's not going well. So
Yes, exactly. The limit does not exist. I mean, do whatever you want.
right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, make the decisions, just be willing to face those decisions in the morning. But yeah, I mean, hey, shit happens. I'm old enough to
Right.
know that. So, no comment on this one.
The next one is basically what Ryann was saying. There's no possibility of a second date. Go ahead
Mm,
and fuck.
yeah.
Sometimes even the failed dates can lead to a semi-successful hookup.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes I feel like I know too much about them. That's why I kind of like hookups because you know very little about the person.
Oh, that's true.
You
That's
know
a
what I
really good
mean?
point.
Yeah. Because you've like hooked up with someone and after they start talking, you're like, wow, okay, well, bye.
Ooh, yes.
You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of someone right this minute. So, okay. Um, Next one is you feel safe,
Yeah, fair.
which, yeah. Next one is they offer to make you breakfast in the morning. Could
Okay. I
someone get
mean,
you?
what?
I mean, like, you have to be a real big breakfast lover to be like, okay, I was just gonna go home, but now that you've offered to make breakfast,
Yeah.
also, how do you know that unless they're a chef, I might be
Ooh.
like, what are you gonna make?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's like a pickup line, how do you like your eggs in the morning? Like
Right.
unfertilized.
Ooh, that's really good.
Right?
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. Should have used that one. Hmm.
That's
Maybe I will.
maybe you will. Yeah. Never say never. Um, so last or next one is you and your date have agreed there's no future, but are still very attracted to each other. So think this
Yeah.
kind of ties into there's no possibility of a second date.
Right.
Um, but this does go on to elaborate, like maybe you guys actually become friends.
Ew.
Or like ew. Right. You're like, I have enough friends.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you on a first date so we could be friends.
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, sure, go off, but no.
Maybe friends with benefits. Maybe if you're just like needing some regular dick,
I
that
mean,
could be
I
a
have
thing.
heard of quite a few people, I'll say mostly queer people, but I have heard of a lot of people actually becoming friends with like people that they met off of an app.
Mm,
It is actually pretty common. So it's not the worst thing, but for me, I think Morgan was talking about this earlier, like the distinction, right? Like a hookup versus a date versus a friend, like they're all very different.
yeah.
And so like just where my intentions are and like where my mind is going, like I don't think that on first dates I'm really thinking about hooking up. I've done it, but that's not always usually my first intention. Also, I think that was like a little bit of like internalized misogyny where I was like, oh, if I hook up with them, like they're not going to call me, even though I was already having sex with people that I wasn't calling back anyway. But you know what I
Right.
mean? But with the date, it was like, oh, this is like a big to do. So
Right, exactly. And I think there's something there that we need to maybe like look into in another episode because it's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Like I I think that's why I'm saying I keep the two so separate.
Mm,
But I'm like, why is that?
right,
What is
right.
that?
Mm.
If you guys know, let us know.
Yeah.
Otherwise we'll check in with our therapists and we'll have a follow-up episode in the future.
Yeah.
We are gonna figure that out. So
Yes, yes.
and the last one, you're a human being. Maybe your
Mhm.
date sucks. Maybe it doesn't. Whether it's the first date or the 100th, who cares?
There you go. Get
People like
yours,
to
girl.
fuck. Yeah,
Right.
that's just it.
That's just it. Exactly. Ah.
All right. So to wrap it up, we kind of touched on this in the beginning, but what are some good ideas aside from dinner and a movie?
Mm.
Yeah. So I have a list here, but do you have any that like off the top of your head?
Well, let's go over the list because they're probably covered. They're pretty
Okay.
common, but yeah.
All right. So this was like a huge list. So I just picked some out.
Okay.
But the first one was cook together.
Oh, that's way too intimate immediately.
Okay. Yes, it is. That's true. Like
It's
maybe
very
you don't want them to
telling.
have your address.
Oh, well, I was thinking like they have those cooking classes and stuff, but like that's a lot.
Oh,
Like
cooking
unless you were
classes.
both
Yeah.
just like very into it, maybe you like went to culinary school or you're just like foodies. But even foodies, like I'm a foodie, but I don't want to cook with I think that's a little bit too intimate. And this is coming from somebody that has sex on the first date. I'm saying that cooking is too intimate for the first
You
date.
think so?
It's just so telling the way you hold your knife, like how you clean, like I don't know.
Ooh,
That's
that's a
really
good
telling.
point. Yeah, if you're not good
Yeah.
at cleaning the dishes or if you are like high strung in the kitchen,
Right.
you might
Exactly.
show a side of yourself that you were like wanting to share on the first date.
Yes, exactly. Like we talked about intimacy. Well, intimacy is very different than being sexually attracted, right?
Yeah.
Or, sexually involved. Like, I mean, intimate by, yeah, showing a very vulnerable side of yourself. Like,
Right.
I think,
So that's
yeah,
a no-go.
I think so. Unless they are a chef and they just but you said cooking together though, right?
Right.
Yeah, no,
Oh
no.
no, if someone wants to cook for me,
For
I'd be
you,
like, we don't
right.
need to go to a cooking class. You can cook for me.
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
good at it.
Right. Yes.
Okay, next one is go to an arcade.
What are we, 12?
There are arcade bars.
Yeah.
These are kind of fun because they have like the vintage games like skee ball. I do like skee ball.
I do like skee ball. I always get sweaty at arcades though.
Table. Okay, maybe you get a little too competitive. Maybe.
No, I just feel like when I go to arcades, I just happen to get sweaty. Like I think
Oh.
it's the carpeting or something.
Okay. All right, that one's off. Okay,
Yeah.
next one. Comedy show.
It's like the movie, it's just you're not really talking. I just feel like it's not a great breeding ground for like a chat, like an honest conversation. Like it's just like
Yeah.
you're not
Okay.
focused on each other. What do you think? I don't know.
I like the comedy show,
Okay.
but I like having the option of focusing on something else if it's not going well. So
Okay. All right.
that's probably just me. You're like, I want to sit and look in their eyes and hear their life story. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Gross. Like, I don't want to laugh at some guy on stage. Like, next one is go for a hike.
Yeah.
I know. I could see this as being an option for people who are not Ryann or I.
Yeah, exactly. Not for a first date. Maybe like a fifth date when we've established that I'm not just like Mrs. Athletic out here. Sure, we can go for a walking
exactly.
hike.
Like I don't want to be like straining and like huffing and puffing in front of someone I'm like trying to impress.
Right.
That
Yeah.
feels embarrassing. For me, if you feel
Yeah.
comfortable, go and go for a hike. If you like to hike, you do you.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's not the first line on my profile. So nobody's going to be like, mistaking me for some expert hiker, is all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. Also make sure it's like a well trafficked hike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was like, I can't believe I didn't bring that up. I'm the true crime, like, obsessed over here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually,
Mhm.
I don't want to go on a hike. Nobody's taking me into the forest. Like, low service, bad reception.
Yeah. I mean, the more Morgan thinks about it, the more she's like, what is wrong with you? Hypothetical situation. It's okay.
I'm
but
so
yes,
worried now. I'm worked up.
Morgan's like in her dating profile, no hikes.
Right. I'm gonna start searching like Hinge and Tinder for people who say they want to go on hikes. Start reporting them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, and I know like it wasn't a first date, so I guess this doesn't count, but it was like a third or fourth date. Oh, he was so sweet. But we went on like a hike, and then there was like a little creek. It was like a water thing, so we got in the water. But I knew this person. It wasn't like random. But that was really fun. But I think that comes a little bit later once you're comfortable. But I do think showing up in like joggers or something doesn't sound like my idea of a first date. So
No.
yeah.
No, yeah.
No.
All right. Next one is bowling.
I mean, again, I'd be sweaty, but I like that idea. Yes. I like bowling.
Yeah. Bowling's a little gross and it smells kind of weird, but it is like an activity that you can do together while still having conversation.
Yes.
But you're doing something so your focus can kind of be, not so centered on the person.
Right.
You both are doing something.
Yes.
I like that kind of first date as far as these options go.
Yeah.
Next one is rock climbing.
God, no. No.
No?
No.
I might do this. I know I wouldn't be good at it at first, but I have thought about wanting to someday try rock climbing. In a gym, like in a contained area. I'm not going like in nature to do it.
Right. Yeah, scaling walls.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not for me. I feel like it's awkward. You'd see that person like strain in a lot of weird ways that I don't think I want to see.
That's true. You're going to be looking like right up to heaven once they're up there. Like, if they're spotting you. Like, what if that's the day you don't realize how sheer your leggings are?
No, exactly.
It's like, oh, you're got a free bush up there, huh? That's a good point. What if he doesn't wear underwear? What if he's wearing like casual
exactly shorts? Right. Just things. What if he wears toe shoes? You know what I mean? No.
Whoa. That's a deal breaker. It's one thing if you see their balls through their shorts when they're climbing up. It's a whole nother thing if they wear toe shoes. That's disgusting.
Oh my God. That's disgusting. Yeah.
Okay, next one, an escape room.
God, no.
I knew you wouldn't like that one. I would like that one. I like puzzles and stuff like that, but I don't think I would be fun. I wouldn't get the second date after that because I'd be like, figure it out. Like, I would be so uptight and be like, you are so dumb. It's blue, blue, red, green, blue. Jesus, we've got 10 minutes left. Like, I would
like,
be
we have 0
monster.
minutes left on this date.
Right. Yeah. He'd like go, wave to the camera. Hey, let me out. Can't handle another 10 minutes locked in this room with this crazy bitch.
Yeah, she's the real escape room.
Yeah. Here's my great escape. Let me out.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a nightmare. And no. And I also don't care enough. I think it would be, it's like, see, some of these I think are better as like I told you, like somebody that we both know, like does meetups and they go on like group dates, right? And so nobody is really paired up with each other. If you meet somebody, great. If you don't, like it's fine. And so I think escape rooms, bowling, like even rock climbing, I think all of those are really cool in group settings because you're not put on the spot to do well at anything. You might have
Mm-hmm.
somebody to laugh with, right? Maybe you'll bond over the fact that both of you aren't really into this activity.
Yeah.
But I think when you're put in a position where you're meant to like the activity, it's a little bit awkward because you might not want to be as honest about it. Um, but yeah, I like the idea just not as a first date, like one-on-one first date. So
Yeah, that's true. And escape rooms usually need more than just two people. So you
right.
may go in with a group of people you don't know.
Yeah.
Is that better or worse? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, it might be better if you're not hitting it off, but
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you
yeah.
could partner up with like this teenage boy's mom.
Yeah.
Be like, me and
Right.
Shirley are rocking this bitch. I don't know what you guys are doing over here. Okay, next one is an outdoor movie.
I like this. Yes.
I do like this too.
Mhm.
There's like the rooftop cinema clubs.
Mhm.
There's a drive-in if you want to go a little more classic.
Mhm. Yep, they have like movies at the park. I like those
Mm-hmm.
too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's great and it still gives you an opportunity to chat. You don't really have to watch the movie. It's usually like a movie you've seen anyway.
Right.
But even if it isn't, even if it's a new movie, like if they're interesting enough, like you'll see that movie again later. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I like that. Different foods to try, things like that. Yeah, that's a good
True.
one. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one too. And the last one was a concert.
Ooh, I mean, honestly, yes, I could totally do this for a first date. But I'm a little bit intense at concerts. I don't know. It would really
You
depend on the
are.
person.
Yeah. Me in the escape room is you at a concert.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
what's her face in Friends with Benefits? She's like, John fucking Mayer.
Yeah.
That would be you though.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love concerts too much. Like I definitely wouldn't be paying them any mind. Be like, can you
Right.
go give me a water? I'm like really hot. Wow. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I can't leave, but you can go get that for me.
Yes. Right. Right. Exactly. But I do think, given the right type of show, like if it was just like a small indie band, that like neither of us knew, I think that could actually be a really good date. Yeah, I would do
Right,
that though.
exactly. Like they do like music in the park and stuff too,
Hmm.
which I thought it was kind of similar to like the outdoor movie,
Right.
where maybe it's just like a little local festival that's going on where you guys can like walk around and listen to music and get some food, things like that.
Yes.
Um, a specific concert, I feel like that's a little more niche, like just
Hmm.
meeting someone and like I don't know. I don't know if I would take a first date to like go see a concert that I really wanted to see.
No. No, I
Like,
would not.
unless I knew that they were like gonna be as enthusiastic about going to that, but even still, do I
Right.
want these memories with you? I'm probably just
Right.
gonna call my friend.
Yes. No, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But
It's
a more low key concert,
yeah, low
I think that's
stakes.
a low stakes. Low stakes,
Right.
yes.
Right.
All right. So, what are our ideal first dates?
Ooh. Yeah, I would say, I mean, yeah, ideal it would be like an outdoor movie or show or something like that. Maybe like I do like walking hikes where it's like there might be food and street vendors. Maybe even like a fair or something like that. I probably wouldn't mind. That kind of combines like the arcade and the outdoor food and just like the setting. I do think it's important for me at least to see how that person is around social settings because I really like social settings. So I
Yeah.
will say that would definitely be important for me. Um yeah, I don't think necessarily bar is like ideal. That was actually me and Ben's first date and then we got food after, but the
Hmm.
bar was a little bit too compacted and I felt like I needed to be too close to him immediately, you know what I mean, to make sure that we were like together because like
Yeah.
people just like moving out in and out. It's very pre-COVID, so like there it's just packed house.
Right.
Um but yeah, I would say my ideal is something outdoors, I think is probably the most important to me. Like outdoors, social setting, some type of maybe music or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I like the idea of maybe some kind of festival, like a food festival, something like for
Okay.
art or something that has music.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
do like the outdoor movie idea
Okay.
too. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I really like movies. So if it was
Mm-hmm.
someone, it wasn't just like, oh, here's a thing we can do. If they
Mm-hmm.
were also like kind of a movie buff, I think that would be
Mm.
like a common interest that I would like.
Yeah.
Um, But I do like that. I really feel more comfortable doing something where there's like some other thing going on as well.
Yes, I
It's
agree.
I'm not you are more social and more like uh equipped to like do well with small talk. Like you can feel like awkward silence as well.
Right. Right.
I don't know if I don't care enough or if I don't have those skills. It's probably a little bit of both. So it takes a little bit of the pressure off for me.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah.
Yeah. But I do think first dates are a numbers game. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm saying this as if like I took my own advice. I was very bad at first dates, but with my current partner, like this is what he was telling me, like it is a numbers game. Like you have to put yourself out there as much as possible. And it doesn't mean you need to have a date every weekend. But if you truly are looking for somebody to do things with, even if it is just, I want a partner to, yeah, go on dates with or whatever it is, like it is a numbers game. Like the more that you go out with people, the more comfortable you'll be in going out and doing those first date settings and knowing what you like in those first date settings. If sitting down at a restaurant with like dimly lit, like situation or whatever, and like ambiance music is too much, like, yeah, let's go outside. Let's do something outside.
Yeah.
You'll find places that you like. I know a lot of people when I was dating, like just sharing advice with like coworkers and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, I go to first dates at this place all the time. Like that's like my first date place. And it was like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because you're comfortable there now, but I do think it's just about finding what works for you, because I think in a lot of ways, the way we date has just been so normalized to be this certain thing, dinner and a movie, dinner and dessert. And it's just like,
Yeah.
maybe I should eat before I see you, right? Maybe I don't need to see you eat immediately. Like that's kind of intimate,
Right. Let's mix it up.
Yeah.
Let's do something else. Yeah.
Right.
Real quick, in just a couple words, can you tell us what your worst first date was?
Yoshinoya.
Okay. Fair. Fair.
Was there another one? A comedian that kept name dropping.
Oh.
Yeah. But he didn't even know them because he was a comedian. He knew them because he did security. So it was very weird flex kind of thing,
Weird flex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird
So,
flex.
What about you?
The guy who wanted to use the gift certificate at the movies fell asleep in the movie. And then he woke up and said, "Oh man, that was like kind of boring." You picked the movie, first of all.
Do you remember the
And
movie?
it was one of the Marvel movies, like Age of Ultron or something. It was a fucking action movie that I wouldn't have seen on my own volition. And then he fucking fell asleep. I should have left. I should have left while he was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Hindsight's always 2020, but there you go. He fucking fell asleep. So.
Yeah.
Well, are we doing this wrong?
I mean, yeah, I was a lot less confident when I was going on a lot of first dates. And so I was very willing to accept like bar on the floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I mean, yeah, I did it wrong mostly. Like 99% of the time I did it wrong.
Oh, yeah. Same.
Same. Yeah. Have you ever had a really good first date?
No.
I mean, I guess not.
Right. Yeah. Me and my current partner, I never say that on the show, as clearly I am single as fuck. So
fair. Yeah. I mean, me and Ben ended our first date with smoking a joint outside of the Mission Inn. Like
that's that's ideal end of date for you. Yes. That is how you end the date. That is your perfect end of date situation.
True. Yeah. Walking around a really well lit, nice area, heavily trafficked, and lighting one up because that's what I needed at the end of that date. In a good way.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up. Hope you guys go into your next first dates with, I don't know what. Was this a positive episode? Did we give any advice?
I don't know.
Did we just name how it can be, how terrible it can be?
Yeah, I know. I mean, at the very least, commiserate with us,
Yes.
like everyone knows what dating is like, whether you've done it a lot, whether you've done it a little, like, you get it. And hopefully you can share your stories with us. Please let us know. How has your first dates been? What's your worst? What's the best? Right? Like, let us know.
Yeah, we would love to share your guys' stories if you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So you can reach out to us at wrongthepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Or you could slide into our DMs on Instagram at wrongthepodcast. Don't forget to check out the visual conversation on YouTube. And like we said before, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you guys get your podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you next week.
Next week, second date.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, bye.